Retail giant Bed Bath & Beyond is making a comeback. Not sure if you knew about this, but the company announcing today that they will not be opening or operating retail stores in the state of California as they go through this comeback, calling it the most expensive and risky environments for businesses in America. It's a system that makes it harder to employ people, harder to keep doors open, and harder to deliver value to customers.
And Gavin's response to that was, fuck you, bye. Well, that's an interesting way to treat businesses. Doesn't really scream pro-business, but what do I know? I only live in this state and see firsthand how Gavin's policies have driven jobs, investments, and opportunity out the door. Anyway, Greasy Gavin followed that beauty up with, after their bankruptcy and closure of every store like most Americans, we thought Bed Bath & Beyond no longer existed. We wish them well in their efforts to become relevant again as they try to open a second store. Look, doing the sassy gay man routine or the spicy woke torta-ass Latina act on your government-verified X account to mock a company that just clawed its way out of bankruptcy, all while California bleeds jobs and leads the nation in unemployment, is truly the definition of desperate cringe. That doesn't read like leadership, folks. It reads like petty Reddit snark. California doesn't need a roast master-in-chief. It needs a governor who can make the state competitive again instead of bankrupt again. Now, there's some in the media who will try to defend this kind of behavior, saying that Gavin is taking on the Trump style, but here's the reality, folks. Gavin isn't fighting for workers. He's fighting for headlines. This is a purely narcissistic endeavor because there's nothing else for him to point to. And this is where the larger cultural trend comes in. Democrats have grown addicted to performance politics. They've learned from social media that outrage and snark drives clicks, while serious policy solutions get ignored. So they've turned governance into a content strategy. Gavin isn't just a governor anymore. He's a poster boy for Instagram politics, curated, shallow, and ultimately fake. But here's Gavin's biggest problem, though. Donald Trump can get away with political theater because it's baked into his brand. He was a celebrity long before he was a politician. People expect him to be entertaining even when he's abrasive. Gavin doesn't get that luxury. He isn't funny. He isn't charismatic outside of his base. And when he uses the same playbook, mocking businesses, picking fights with random constituents, playing the celebrity politician, it doesn't come across as bold. It comes across as desperate. Regular working class Americans, especially the undecided independent voters, don't see strength in that. They see weakness. They see a man more interested in roasting employers than actually fixing unemployment. And that's the bigger story here, folks. Democrats are losing not just voters, but credibility. Their leaders no longer even try to solve problems. They perform righteousness. They posture against Trump. They mock corporations, the job creators. It's crazy. And they mistake applause lines for progress. But ordinary Americans know the difference. They feel the empty wallets, the lost jobs, the higher cost of living. And we're all realizing that when the curtain comes down on this clown show, there's nothing behind this sort of performance. It's all just failure. And the performance itself just serves to cover up the fact that this man is a huge failure. No matter how many Gavin Newsom memes you see on the internet right now, so many people praising him, folks, know that this is about 5% of the population, maybe even less. That's the base of people who are supporting this man because they are desperate to have somebody that they feel stands up to Trump. But in doing that, in elevating Gavin Newsom and getting him to essentially abandon his own principles, which, let's be honest, wasn't hard for him to do in the first place. It's not like he had too many. They've effectively stripped Gavin of the last thing he had going for him as a politician. The fact that he was a politician. Now he's just a wannabe X or Instagram or fill in the blank influencer who's obviously going to fail. Because, as I've said, as soon as the primaries start, folks, and he starts getting heat from his own side, that's where Gavin Newsom is going to get battle tested. Until then, all of this is pure talk. And I'm not even taking into account the fact that he's going to lose a special election on November 4th. That's going to be a huge L notch on his belt that he will take into the primary and which will get exploited by the likes of Josh Shapiro, of Amy Klobuchar, of Elizabeth Warren, who will also bring up his affairs, likely. Elizabeth Warren loves to do feministic stuff like that. We all know that. We all remember the way that she did that with other people at primaries and during elections.